once I heard about the Sentry and how complex he was, I was like, I actually can't really imagine now that I've been educated about the Sentry, a character I would rather play.
Yeah.
And so I was rearing to go. I was trying to be cool and be like, oh, it's just cool to be thought of, whether I get the job or not. But I desperately wanted the gig.
Prepare your ears, humans. Happy, sad, confused begins now.
Hey guys, it's Josh. Welcome to another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Today we've got a spoiler chat with Thunderbolt star Mr. Lewis Pullman, a returning champion to the podcast, and this time he can speak freely and openly about his big Marvel debut. First of all, this is a shorter than usual episode, but I just wanted to catch up with Lewis for the purposes of this kind of a chat. I'll get to the Lewis chat in a second, but a couple announcements and just bits and bobs for you guys. First of all, it might just be in my head. I don't know how powerful this microphone is, but there's insane construction outside my window literally right now. If you hear it, I apologize. It is what it is. I'm just trying to do my job here. Thanks, New York City. We have some really cool upcoming live events in New York City. May 12th, Alexander Skarsgård is returning to the podcast. This is his third time. This time we're going to be chatting about his new Apple TV show, Murderbot, but a great many other things. Tickets are available in the show notes. Check it out. Also next week, May 14th, Andor. We're jumping into Andor headfirst with the showrunner, the brilliant writer, Tony Gilroy. This guy's one of the smartest guys in the business. And this is going to be the day after the finale of Andor runs. I don't know if you guys are watching, but the show is off the charts great. Some of the best Star Wars stuff ever written, in my opinion. So come on out, May 14th. Information in the show notes. Two really cool events, and there's another big one coming soon that I'm going to announce in the imminent future. As always, for all these special events, discount codes, early announcements, bonus materials, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/happysadconfused. Support us there. It helps us make more stuff for you guys here. Okay, so Lewis Pullman. This is a really fun chat. About a year ago, if you guys follow the podcast, I had Lewis on, and he was a delight. That being said, when I started to poke him about being in Thunderbolts, which was common knowledge, by the way, by the time we chatted, he so stonewalled me. I love these kind of conversations. Maybe you've seen my Andrew Garfield stuff in the past and other, interviews with actors who've had to deny. This is just a fun side of the business. I mean, like, I'm not trying to like break people down, ruin people, spoil anything in a meaningful way, but it is fun to kind of do that dance with actors about stuff they can or can't say. And it's especially fun when they come back and kind of laugh about how little they could say. So that's what this is. This is Lewis Pullman talking about joining Marvel, what he couldn't say a year ago, what he can say now. And there's some really cool revelations in this about his character's future, the end credits scene, stuff I didn't know, stuff about the ending of Thunderbolts, about his audition. Really cool stuff. If you like Thunderbolts, and hopefully by now you've seen Thunderbolts, I would recommend that. Both for this conversation and generally, it's a great movie. This conversation will be all the more entertaining and meaningful. So that's the preamble. I want you guys to sit back and enjoy this chat with one of our best up-and-coming young actors today, who's getting a really choice role at the center of the Marvel Universe. I'm very happy for Lewis. I'm very happy he came back on the pod. And without any further ado, here's me and Lewis Pullman. Lewis Pullman, here we are, buddy. How's it going,
Josh
man?
Horowitz, it's so good. I'm wearing the same hat I wore last time. Not much has changed.
A little's changed. A little's changed
What's changed?
because this is a catch up. This is my favorite kind of conversation. This is the post-mortem. This is the follow-up that we're going to run after Thunderbolts is out, so we can have an open conversation.
Oh,
When
God.
when we last spoke officially for the pod about a year ago,
Mm.
you were muzzled. You were not
I
able to
was
speak.
muzzled. I was doing an insane dance. There was not a beautiful dance, not an elegant dance, but a dance nonetheless.
So let's start here. I'm going to play you a video of you talking to me about a year ago, and then let's on the other side of it, you tell me what was happening in your brain at the time.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Okay.
Sick. How exciting is it to be officially joining the MCU, man?
You know, all I know, Josh, is that all I know
The
about
eye
this whole
contact is gone.
situation.
All the LOLs are gone. Have you ever seen? Have you ever seen this character?
Who glimpsed that? What a beautiful costume.
Yeah. Have you ever worn anything similar to this in your life?
Not me personally. I mean, look at those locks. My God, I don't
Yeah.
have locks like that.
Well, hey, that's actually not so dissimilar. Yeah.
If you had a costume, what would you your costume be,
It
Josh?
would not be that tight. I'll tell you
Absurd.
that. I do not need to
Absurd.
accentuate
I
every
mean, the
curve
fact
in
that
my
I took my
body.
hat off to try and prove that I didn't have blonde hair, as if wigs don't exist.
So, well, okay. So you're not a dumb man. You knew that question was coming from me, didn't you? Were you prepped?
Yeah.
Did you have an idea of how to handle that?
There's no all that you're given is don't say anything. And so how does there's diversion tactics, of course, which are obvious. Everything's obvious. You really feel like you're a kid in the principal's office and
Right.
like and all the evidence is sitting right in front of you and you're like, I didn't do it. I swear I didn't do
What
it.
I was surprised at, because I was expecting you not to be able to talk about the Sentry part of it, but it had been announced like in Deadline, like 3 or 4 months prior that you were joining the film. Like you were obviously had already been shooting, and you couldn't even so much as acknowledge that you were a part of Marvel. So they really
No,
had you scared.
they really did. I mean, when I went in to go do my screen test, like I understood the gravity of how much the Fort Knox that they kind of operate under, and like just all the shredders and all the the tarps that they put you under as you travel from hair and makeup into the stage, and like and all the things you sign that are way too long. It would take me like 3 years to actually read that and understand what it means. So I'm just like I assume that I signed my life away there, and if I say anything, I will be executed or put away in isolation for a little time. Um, but yeah, I think that seeing that I was literally, yeah, I was in Atlanta shooting right when we talked. I was doing it, and I had to lie to your face, Josh. I'm
I
so
love it.
sorry.
I still love you. Okay, so let's talk
Thank you.
a little bit about the background. So you say you did screen test for this. Give me the timeline because I even referenced in that conversation, and it's public knowledge that Stephen Yeun was initially going to play this role, and it just didn't work
Yeah,
out because of a variety of factors. Did you screen test initially, or only after Stephen couldn't had to bow out?
only after Steven had to bow out, and I think they were getting close to the curtains being drawn and them having to get shooting. And so, yeah, I got the call that they were interested or that there was a character, and I was like, well, I got to read a script. Who's the character? And they're like, you don't get to know that stuff, dude. Yeah, but you get to meet with Jake. And so I met with Jake, and Jake actually this morning just sent me a picture of like the awning in the garden where we first met, and he was like, this is our spot, baby. And I was like, hell yeah, that's where it all began. I sat down with him and just like, we were sitting around a campfire. He told me the story verbatim out of his mouth, like what the tale of the Thunderbolts was. And it was really interesting to be able to hear it like you were at like a dinner party and somebody was trying to tell a story of something that had happened to them or something and give it a full arc. But it was dealing with these kind of larger than life mythological beings. And he had such passion and such he really like I think had a personal not attachment but because he wasn't like so attached that he was leaving no room for us to have our own version of the characters. It's just that he felt himself in all these characters, I think,
Right.
which was so compelling to see and so compelling to hear. And it deals with a lot of like very emotionally deep topics. And so to hear him being like, I want to talk about these things and I want to tackle them. I also want it to be a blast and I want it to be
Yeah.
fun. Um, and so once I heard that, and then once I heard about the Sentry and how complex he was, I was like, I actually can't really imagine now that I've been educated about the Sentry, a character I would rather play.
Yeah.
And so I was rearing to go. I was trying to be cool and be like, oh, it's just cool to be thought of, whether I get the job or not. But I desperately wanted the gig.
Well, it does afford you a lot of opportunities. Folks have now seen the film, so it's you're in a sense you're playing a couple different shades of a different character. So like were you reading lines as Bob, as the Sentry, as the Void? Like were you kind of like having to capture all that even in the screen test?
Yeah. Jake, there was a great kind of also trial run for how Jake and I could communicate and how we could kind of create a shorthand for this very complex task. But yeah, he would be like, modulate me in certain directions. And the more that we both together understood him, the better we got at it. And we spent so much time together, and I'm so grateful that he was willing and eager to do that. And obviously, he had spent so much time prepping for this movie prior with the Stephen Young version that he was like the master of Bob and Sentry and Void. And so any question I had, he had already had it answered. And any problem, I thought I was like realizing he had already, thought about it every which way and come to terms with why what we have on the page is what we should have. Um, yeah, but on the day we basically kind of mapped out the trajectory of when and at what points we see those parts of him kind of rearing their heads. And so we could kind of tune the dial on the day and be like, it's fun to go as an actor. I think what we see in the film is a very smart version of what I gave. I think I went too far and I went not far enough because I wasn't sure it's such a new tone. And it's so fun also when you kind of are dipping your toes into some of sort of that quote unquote villainous territory to like be indulgent, Um, but it's really integral that you leave enough room for the audience to find grace and forgiveness and compassion for Bob at the end. So you can only go so far in that realm, which I think Jake was always monitoring, which was really smart.
Do you remember there's the banging outside my window? I apologize. New Yorker, what can I say? Do you
It's
remember
part of the
it's the
life.
character of the show? Do you remember the first time you stepped on set in that Sentry costume? I mean, it's a big swing. That's hardcore superhero costume stuff.
It is, and it felt very meta because I felt like I was like walking down the stairs at prom or something, and everyone was looking at me, and I didn't feel like I had the confidence to really fill out the suit yet, which at first I thought was a, a huge disaster, and I was like freaking out. But then I realized, like, no, he still, even when he becomes the Sentry, there still is this self-doubt and these kind of thoughts of, am I good enough? Am I really fit for this? And so I was able to kind of like thread that in there, luckily.
I'm a child of the 80s. I don't know if anyone's brought this up. Has anybody mentioned the Superman character Nuclear Man and the similarities between the costume?
No.
Let me see if I can find the photo I pulled. Hold on one second. Let's see. I had it here. Oh yeah. It's not exactly the same, and you guys do a much better look. There's a horrible
Wow.
there's a
It's got a
horrible
lot more
Superman
flesh.
movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Next time
Flesh
you
on
have to show
display.
more arms. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Look up Superman 4, The Quest for Peace for the bad version of Sentry, I would say.
Okay. Okay, cool. I love thinking about like the many all the lineage of how these costumes have come to be. I think that I should have a Gatorade campaign with this costume. And so I'm putting that in the air now.
Okay, we'll make that happen. Have they talked to
Thanks.
you about sort of like power rankings within Marvel, like where Sentry's power lies, like on the like Captain Marvel's at a very extreme end, and there's Doctor Strange, like how powerful Sentry really is related to other MCU characters?
I think it's almost a topic. It's a topic that hasn't really been breached as much as you would think. I think it's sort of a when we get there, we'll talk about it kind of situation. I mean, because it does feel pretty limitless, but then it's also in some ways. I mean, I was ready. I'm so curious to see what his future holds, because I was ready. In a lot of the comics, he kind of sequesters himself into solitude, and then there's also a lot of um, erasing memories of what has happened in order to allow the continuation of Marvel. But yeah, I think that we'll see, and it depends on who he's up against, and it depends on what state of mind he's in and what kind of support he has around him.
So at the end of this film, even in the end credits, Bob is there, but Sentry is not unleashed for fear of unleashing also the Void. Like in your head, where's Bob at in those end credits as we head towards Avengers?
Uh, yeah, there was a line that was cut that I might get in trouble for saying this, but I don't think so. There's a line where I'm walking away, where we're walking into the kind of booby trap that Valentina has set, where I say to Yelena, so do any of you guys fly or do you all just punch and shoot? And she looks at me kind of like, oh, wait, do you know that you're referencing something you've experienced? Do you actually remember something? Um, I think we took that out because we could sell that without something maybe as on the nose. And we were trying to convey that confusion of like, wait, there are slivers of memory that is peeking through here. And I think that it was an interesting thing to shoot that sequence where they all get applauded at the end, because we were like, well, does Bob stand there and does he receive the applause, or does he step aside and applause with everybody? And we all agreed that it made the most sense, and we didn't know what the future held for Bob, that he would be like, oh, obviously they're not talking about me, but these guys, that what an exciting thing. This is crazy to just bear witness to this. Yeah, so it's an interesting thing to kind of tiptoe around. But I think I'm as curious as anybody.
So was that always was the new Avengers reveal in the script that you read?
Yes. And we had to shoot that two different ways because we had so many background actors who were there. It was a potential, leak risk. We shot it where Valentina said, the Thunderbolts, and then they all left, and then they turned around on us, and she said her actual line with a, locked and sealed, secure set.
That's amazing.
It was pretty amazing.
So we do know you're in Doomsday, as are the Thunderbolts, the rest of your gang, which is
Yes.
awesome. You reunite with them. Have you read anything? Have you had a conversation with the Russos? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you know of what you're actually going to be doing in Doomsday?
Um, like a two, maybe. Well, the only thing that I've read is what we've shot already, which is technically the teaser at the end of Thunderbolts. So technically, that is a part of Doomsday. Um, like that was shot by the Russo brothers.
Oh, it was.
Um,
Oh, cool.
yeah, and so all I know is that Bob is he's hanging out. He's in a state of kind of idle hibernation. I think that the Thunderbolts don't want to let him go because they don't know what kind of havoc he might wreak, but they also don't want to. They also want to keep him in case they might have a use for him in the future.
So when did you shoot with the Russos? How recently was that shot?
That was and I'm pretty sure that's going to be part of the Doomsday. I mean, it's alluding to Doomsday.
Yeah.
That was a couple weeks ago. I mean, I had to fly from Vancouver over the weekend to London to shoot that.
Oh my God. So fresh.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it was.
Crazy.
Yeah,
So I mean, and it's well known that this film really evolved as all the Marvel films do. They kind of like go through the development process. It's just a little bit more open than most films because there's more curiosity.
yeah.
Is there anything that changed? Anything that was lost in the process that you miss? You mentioned that specific line, but other stuff you miss that you got to do?
Um, I mean, different. Yeah, different. Just there's so many ways to skin the cat in this scenario with this character. It's hard to really accept and kind of come to peace with what you see on the screen is the best version of the telling. That's just from a personal standpoint. I obviously trust Jake with my life, and so I know that whatever I thought could have been interesting in there wasn't serving the story as a whole, and wasn't in there for a reason. He does not let a fragment of anything get by him without a lot of thought and intention put behind it. He is such like sometimes I think like I love him so much, like his body language, like very kind of hunched over, and I like in some ways used him a little bit in some of the physicality. He would hate to hear this, and he's not always like this, but I could see the pressure and the weight on his shoulders. Like literally gravity was on him. Like he had such a task. And so some of the body language of Bob, like whenever because I also really wanted to differentiate the silhouette of Bob from Sentry and from the Void, and really kind of have three very specific kind of modes of being. And I think that everything that I think I missed from the movie, it was just because they were moments where I felt like I was really inhabiting him, but that doesn't always mean that you're actually conveying him. Just because you're feeling something doesn't actually mean that you're seeing something. You know what I mean? Oftentimes you think you fucked up a scene really badly, and it actually was the only scene that worked. And oftentimes you think you fucking rocked a scene, and you watch it and you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? That was not good.
Well, that's where great directors and great editors and great trust is important. And
Yes,
you put it all in the right place. Jake did a great job.
the best job.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go because it's a busy day for you. You're hours away from the big premiere, which is going to be a great victory lap for you and your amazing gang.
Thanks, Josh.
Congrats, buddy. Though I mean, the role is so challenging and interesting. I'm glad you found the right one for you, and I'm glad we're going to get to see more of it in the future. And I forgive you for the blatant box.
Thank you. That's really why I wanted to get on this call. It's just ask for forgiveness, please. So I really always love getting to talk to you. Seriously, I really appreciate it, Josh.
Thank you.
Hope to get to do it again soon.
I'll see you soon. Thanks again, man.
All right,
Appreciate
bye.
you. Thanks, buddy.
So ends another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. Remember to review, rate, and subscribe to this show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm a big podcast person. I'm Daisy Ridley, and I definitely wasn't pressured to do this by Josh.